A growing number of experienced executives are deciding that their next opportunity may not be another full-time executive job. A growing number of experienced executives are deciding that their next opportunity may not be another full-time executive job. That matters if you're over 45 because the traditional search for one employer, one title, and one salary is becoming less predictable. Fractional leadership gives qualified executives another way to earn income by working with several companies on a part-time or contract basis. But this is not easy consulting money, and it is not the right move for every experienced professional. Here is why executives are going fractional, who is positioned to succeed, and how to test the model before leaving a stable position. A fractional executive serves as a company's senior leader without becoming its full-time employee. A business might hire a fractional chief financial officer for 2 days each week. Another company might use a fractional chief marketing officer to rebuild its growth strategy for 6 months. The executive is not simply offering occasional advice. The company expects that person to help make decisions, lead initiatives, and remain accountable for measurable results. This model has existed for years, particularly in finance, marketing, operations, technology, and human resources. What has changed is how many companies and experienced executives now view it as a legitimate career structure. The Times reported that LinkedIn profiles mentioning fractional leadership increased from approximately 2,000 in 2022 to 110,000 in 2024. That number does not tell us how many people are earning a full living from fractional work. It does show that the language and career model have moved rapidly into the professional mainstream. The shift is also reaching the highest level of corporate leadership. Data from Challenger Gray and Christmas showed that 33% of new chief executives appointed during the first half of 2025 were interim leaders. That was a sharp increase from the roughly 5 to 9% range reported during the preceding several years. Interim and fractional positions are not identical. However, both reflect a larger change in how companies access senior leadership without immediately making a permanent full-time commitment. Here is where the opportunity becomes personal. Many smaller and mid-sized companies need executive-level judgment before they can justify an executive-level salary. A growing business may need someone to improve cash flow, build a sales organization, integrate an acquisition, or install operating discipline. It may not need that expertise 40 or 50 hours every week. Hiring an experienced leader for a limited portion of the week can solve the immediate problem without adding a permanent executive compensation package. For an experienced executive, that creates access to companies that would never have advertised a conventional position. The Bureau of Labor Statistics reports that many management analysts work as contractual consultants rather than permanent employees. It projects employment for management analysts to grow 9% from 2024 through 2034, compared with 3% across all occupations. That category is broader than fractional executives, so it should not be treated as a direct forecast for fractional leadership. It does support continued demand for experienced professionals who help organizations improve efficiency, lower costs, and increase revenue. But the employer's interest is only half of the story. Experienced executives are also reconsidering what they want from the final 15 or 20 years of their careers. Some are tired of corporate politics, constant reorganizations, and having their financial security depend on one employer. Others want more control over their schedule, clients, projects, and exposure to layoffs. Business Insider profiled experienced executives attracted to fractional work because it offered greater agency, more meaningful projects, and a stronger focus on outcomes rather than corporate appearances. That does not mean fractional work automatically provides better balance or greater security. It means some executives are choosing a portfolio of business relationships instead of relying entirely on one organization. Imagine a former vice president of operations who has spent 20 years improving warehouses, distribution networks, and service teams. That executive could spend months applying for another vice president position against hundreds of candidates. Or that person could offer a specific outcome to 3 growing companies that are struggling with inventory, labor costs, and operational discipline. One client might need 1 day each week. Another may need support during a 6-month system implementation. A third may need temporary leadership while searching for a permanent executive. The executive is using the same experience, but packaging and selling it differently. That distinction is what most career advice misses. Companies do not normally purchase someone's years of experience. They purchase a solution to a costly business problem. Saying that you have 25 years of leadership experience is not a fractional offer. Saying that you help regional distributors reduce excess inventory and improve warehouse productivity is much closer to one. The strongest fractional executives are not selling availability. They are selling a defined business result to a clearly identified type of company. This is also why fractional work does not fit every executive. It may not fit someone who needs a predictable paycheck, employer-sponsored benefits, and clearly assigned responsibilities. It is a poor fit for someone who dislikes networking, selling, negotiating scope, or asking clients for payment. It can also become difficult for executives who need a large internal team before they can personally create value. In a fractional role, the client expects you to understand the situation quickly and become useful without months of onboarding. The Times reported that experienced fractional leaders recommend building a substantial financial runway because establishing a reliable portfolio can take time. The same report warned that success requires self-management, relationship building, and the ability to win and retain business. That warning matters more than the impressive income stories. A successful corporate executive does not automatically become a successful independent executive. Inside a company, the title often provides authority, staff, resources, and a steady flow of problems to solve. Outside the company, you must create the offer, find the client, earn trust, define the work, and deliver the result. The executives most exposed to failure are those who present themselves as broad strategic advisors with no specific commercial outcome. They may have impressive resumes, but give a business owner no clear reason to hire them. Executives with narrow credibility are often better positioned. That could include a finance leader who helps founder-led companies prepare for outside investment. It could be a sales executive who builds repeatable sales processes for manufacturers between $10 and $50 million in revenue. It could be a human resources leader who integrates workforces after acquisitions. It could also be a technology executive who helps traditional businesses select and implement AI systems without creating unnecessary risk. These offers connect experience to a problem that a company already understands and may be willing to fund. The first thing I would do today is document 3 expensive business problems you have solved repeatedly. For each problem, identify the company's starting condition, your specific contribution, and the measurable result. Do not begin by choosing a fractional title. Begin by identifying the problem for which someone could realistically pay you. The second step is to stop presenting yourself as an executive looking for part-time employment. That framing makes the opportunity sound like a reduced version of a full-time job. Present yourself as an experienced operator who can take ownership of a defined result without requiring a permanent executive hire. Over the next 7 days, speak with 5 former colleagues, customers, vendors, investors, or business owners. Do not begin by asking them to hire you. Describe the problem you are considering solving, and ask whether companies in their network are experiencing it. Ask how they currently handle the problem, what happens when it remains unresolved, and who controls the budget. Those conversations will tell you more than spending a month designing a website or announcing a new title on LinkedIn. Your first goal is not to assemble 5 clients immediately. Your goal is to determine whether your experience can be converted into a specific, urgent, and financially valuable offer. Fractional leadership is not the easier version of executive employment. It is a different business model that trades organizational stability for independence, variety, and greater responsibility for generating your own opportunities. For the right experienced executive, that can create more career control and reduce dependence on a single employer. For the wrong person, it can create unpredictable income, constant business development, and more stress than the corporate role they left. The decision should not be based on whether the word fractional is becoming popular. It should be based on whether you can solve a valuable problem, explain that value clearly, and consistently reach the people who need it. And before you decide that fractional work is your only option, examine whether your resume is unintentionally limiting your access to traditional executive positions. Watch my video. Over 40. Your resume may be revealing too much. To identify the age signals that may be working against you, subscribe to Next Role Advisor for practical career strategy for experienced professionals navigating layoffs, AI, and the changing job market.